This seems to be a big topic that's going around right now. Ready or Not has done something that people consider like super controversial. Uh, and I want to break this down for anyone who may or may not understand what's going on or think what they did was insane or whatever. I just want to break this down. So, I used to be a game dev. I don't really do game dev much anymore, but I saw this and I was so confused at the negative reaction because Ready or Not, the game developer behind the game, has done super good by its fans. And I don't think that fans realize that, the negative reaction that they're having is going to take a negative toll on the company. Um, and I'm just going to take it from a game developer's perspective. I just want to break everything down and help people navigate the situation because I don't know if people understand it or they're just mad because other people are mad or someone explained it wrong. I mean, it could be a number of things. We just had that controversy with that guy, projects pirate software, sorry. Pirate Software explaining a whole thing wrong, and then people took him at his word. And a lot of people didn't, but I feel like there's some weird disconnect happening here. So on one hand, we have this really good company that's giving people what they want, done really good. They've sold a ton of copies. They've did exactly what people have wanted, and they're going to probably end up making more games and continuing to make fans happy. But all they did was take the game and censor it a bit. No more cutting up bodies, less blood and gore in certain scenes, some nudity and scary content toned down, especially anything involving kids. That is what got changed. Okay, now I really can't show much of it because we're on YouTube and it is what it is. And people can go look this up. Just look for before and after pictures. The title of this is right here. This is a good link. It'll be like the first link if you type in, Ready or Not censorship. But what I'm trying to explain with this is that people were very angry that they changed it, but the reason that they changed it is because blatantly the reason that they changed it. When you apply as a game developer for your license to go on to these platforms, you don't even major developers have to apply for the title, and they have to abide by the rules of the platform, and you have to pay the money to get onto the platform, and then you have to reformat your entire game's control schemes and any other necessary tweaks that will give you a dev kit. They'll typically give you a dev kit, and if you're like a big studio, you don't need a dev kit. You already know what the things are. But essentially, they'll give you an outline of what you have to comply with, and when I say comply with, I also mean like technical specs. So if you're making it on Unreal Engine and you're making a game that's highly technical, and you're trying to make it for a console that may not be able to hit that region, it'll tell you like, hey, here's the specs for it. You've got to hit these numbers, and if you can't hit these numbers, then it can't be on the platform. It has to hit 30 FPS. It has to hit certain benchmarks, and certain things have to be taken out if you can't, and that's just the way it goes. So part of that list and part of that thing that they have to comply with is actually because those systems, and especially the marketplace of those systems is in certain countries, they just go ahead and have a standardized version that they'll give you, and then if you comply with that, then you'll pass every region. Especially UK is one of the harder ones to pass. I think the reason that they didn't have to do that on Steam is because Steam is not a platform that cares. I mean, you can do full blown sex games on Steam, but Steam is also got a system that say that you do not want to comply with anything, uh, then your game just won't be sold in certain regions. I don't know if they actively tell you that or they just disable it based on when you upload your game. Because when I was going through Steam Greenlight, that was the same thing. That was the same process. You tell them what your game is, you let them rate it, and you pick choices, and it gets a rating. And based on that rating, I think they just don't sell your game. It'll just be like, hey, you can't sell in the UK because you have a gore that exceeds, and it's just a questionnaire that you fill out when you are originally putting the first version of your game on there. You pay your little $100 or whatever. I don't know what it is now. And then you go through the whole thing and bam, you're on the platform. Steam is the least strict platform that there is. I think mobile would be the hardest one, in my opinion, because you have to jump through absolute hoops and you have to make sure that your game is on, like, the game works on every phone conceivable, which is ridiculous. But I guess one of the reasons that people are upset is they say, oh, well, we bought the game and originally it had this in it, and now you're taking it away, and we feel upset because, well, the game has changed now. Well, one of the reasons that they also changed it is because when you're developing a game, you have your design files, okay? And it really just depends on what platform that you're working on. I assume that they are in Unreal. I don't know this for sure. Don't quote me on this. But regardless, if you're working in that environment, in order to make a different version of your game, you have to go in and either split your project into two files, and here's your PlayStation files, and here's this. On Unreal, it's a little bit easier. You have to change the control scheme to detect a controller, and if it detects a controller, it can switch out stuff. But ideally, you want the games to be very similar. They're talking about crossplay. Ideally, it is just easier for the developer to do what they did, which is just have one version of the game. That's it. You're done. Games like Rust had a big backlash because their console version was always falling behind on their PC version. Well, this is the same thing, and people didn't get mad at them or review bomb them. It's the same thing. They had to split off their files, and they have to work almost simultaneously on different versions of the game to fit and meet the criteria to be, on those platforms. Now, if you're not trying to do crossplay, which is, I guess, what they should have done, is just separate PC people out from console players. I mean, that's typically what if you guys remember, that's typically what people do, is they don't allow console to play with PC. Well, there's like a little reason why they do that is it allows you to keep everything, your highest quality version of it can be on the PC, and it doesn't need to be altered, doesn't need to be fucked with, whereas your console version can be toned down and it'll meet all the guidelines and all the technical requirements. Especially on the older systems, it was even more of a thing because PCs were always just so far ahead of a console that's frozen in time. Every unit is the same. With PCs, if a graphics card comes out, I could just throw a new one in there and it's better, and there you go. I need a better graphics card, so you throw one in there. I don't know if people are confused or what's going on, Um, People are saying that the developers promised the game wouldn't be censored and are frustrated by the promises being broken. And I think on some level though, is it as censored? Is it as censored as, like, it's the least censored game, even with these changes, right? I would assume least censored, I should say least censored mainstream game. I would assume that these changes do not affect the game as much as people are pretending it does. Although I just don't see um I just don't see what the main deal is. I don't see this as a bad thing. From all the reports that I see and all the dev stuff, they say that all the main action and scary tone of the game and all of the stuff is still there. Um, there's very strict laws globally around violence with children, and that's why on, I don't know if people are just dumb or haven't noticed, but you can't really kill kids on some games. You can't interact with them the same way if there's like children NPCs and just various other things. And that's because the laws are the law. Like, it's not that they don't want to. I'm sure games would give players whatever they wanted to do if they could, but these are the actual laws. I don't know how old you are as the viewer, um, but we've had a lot of reform in gaming law, and then we've had new laws had to come out. I mean, the '90s especially, they were absolutely trying to destroy GTA because of the insane level of violence. And if you compare this game to GTA, I mean, quite frankly, they would have lost their fucking minds at this, you know? But I get that that as developers, if they promised that they wouldn't change anything, then they went and changed it. I can see that as a problem. I totally get that aspect of it. But it's the changes are in the tens, it feels like. They put clothes on characters that were fully nude, and they moved a little bit away from children, like child violence and stuff. And I, I mean, they toned it down very slightly, in my opinion. I still think that, people, I guess people just don't understand, like, the only alternative they have is to not put it on console, which means that a company that is willing to do good by the consumer would make less money, and their game could potentially die sooner. Or, this injection of new players for people that just can't afford PCs or don't have PCs would never come to the game. I think people are being too harsh. There's so many companies out there that are actively, completely railing against you. There's so many companies out there telling you that they hate you and saying that you're stupid for buying their games, calling you a fat fucking loser for buying their games, and you're still buying their fucking games. And there's a company here who has to make changes based on real laws. Like, they would literally not be able to put it on the console if they didn't do this. Now, I'm not saying that you're not allowed to be like, man, fuck. I can't believe that they did this. This sucks, man. I'm not saying that you can't feel like that, but on some level, people don't realize that, especially with the Steam review bombing, you will, and I mean this very, very, like, for real, you will hurt the bottom line of that company. Like, it could, because Steam gives free advertising. Okay? There's no way in the ecosystem of Steam to purchase advertising on their platform. Meaning, the only way to get advertising on platform, which is always the best way, it's always the best way to do it, is to have it on platform. If they don't have that option, you have to get positive, very positive, overwhelmingly, and there's different tiers that Steam will promote your game. If it passes certain benchmarks, you'll get more promotion. You have to understand, they're a platform that has games on it, and not every game gets equal promotion, because not every game deserves it. They have made a system, in their minds, they've made a system that is really good at saying, okay, players care about you, and because you've done good by the player, we're going to give you thousands, if not millions of dollars in free promotion. And if we show you to 1 million people, and you still continue to get good reviews, and you're still doing right by people, and you're still, and they get an insane amount of incentives and free advertising, and all of this matters, especially to a company like this Void Interactive. If you're an indie studio, especially, you cannot put a price on free advertising on Steam through their algorithmic way that they do it. I just want players to understand, when you actively go against a company that you really love and think that it doesn't matter, it does. It really, really does. Because it's not even just the Steam stuff. If you go online and you write something like, this piece of shit company, this or whatever, if I'm an investor and I wanted to invest in this company, or they were seeking a loan or whatever, they have teams that review the authenticity, the reputation, the credit scores of whoever's, doing it, the company's like past lending stuff. They literally have whole groups of teams that do this, because when you're applying for a loan, especially for something like a game studio, you need a pretty big loan, which comes with a lot of responsibilities, which includes dealing with that aspect of it. So I think that people really don't understand that if, we'll give a hypothetical, that if you went around saying like, oh, this company's racist, and you had like 100,000 people saying it all over the place, and they went for a loan, they could be denied simply on the basis that I am not putting my money with you and being involved with a company that does this. Now, they're already high risk because they make games that are seen to be high risk. People don't tend to get involved. Like, this goes way past, this isn't just a game like, this isn't just like a chainsaw and you do an animation where you grab them and it's not just like that. This is very real content, and the people, I guess people just don't understand that, like, it's gonna hurt the company for sure, especially if they now have to make the choice to roll back things, change things, have multiple copies, or risk losing. Because what they have to really sit down and look at is they have to all sit down together, whatever board that they have or the owners, and they have to and they have to go, hey, this is our decision. If we don't roll this back or change it or do something or cancel the launch or whatever we have to do, we could be fucked. And they'll make decisions. Their leadership is making decisions on public opinion, because if the public is against them, who are the people buying the product? You know? And the ones that aren't radicalized against them soon will be, in their mind. They have to go off of certain percentages. So I thought I'd make this video if anyone actually cared about the truth and the actual stuff about it. It seems like kind of not, right? Seems like people care about the drama of it, or like getting caught up in hating a company for no reason. I think ultimately it is silly. I don't think that they had any thought that anyone would mind. I don't think that they really sat down and said, oh wow, we're going to ruin our entire reputation. I don't think that they were thinking that. I think that they, just coming from a game dev's perspective, I think they were thinking, hey, more players, people love us, we're going to get on console, we're going to sell millions of more units, we're going to be able to expand, we're going to be able to take out new loans, we're going to be able to put that into new products. I think that's where their heads are. Is make more money, make more progress, especially if you succeeded where you should have failed, because most people do. Most people fail. I would consider myself a failure, and I was making very good money with dev. So I think some perspective like this might be helpful to some, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. I answer every single comment, and I'm willing to hear what you have to say. But I will say this: I hope I didn't just walk into a bullet here. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to say that people's feelings are invalid, and I'm not trying to say that you can't be mad that they changed something. But I do think it's a smidge of an overreaction for a very serious thing. I don't know. But let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next one.